When we went to record Lost in the Sound, we were kind of in a weird spot because we'd never actually been in a position where we were going into a studio to record a record that followed a record that we recorded previous that we still actually liked.
Like with Define, I really love that record. I believe in that record, you know? And going into this record, I was a little daunted, I'll be honest. I was like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna make a record that is different than that or better than that? But I think we made a record that is current for us now.
With the last record, we were all so stoked on and happy with it that it kind of gave us like a freedom to do whatever we want, which I guess we've always kind of had too, because we just do what we want, but we tried some things I don't think that we would write. When we wrote Define, I don't think we would try the same things we wrote on this record. There's some like jammier parts that like aren't rock and they're not heavy, they're kind of like in between. So it's cool. I think it kind of gives us another little element to our band and something we'll probably explore more down the road.
Let us be cold, make us weak. Let us because we all have ears. Let us because we all have eyes. Good How they knew that this would happen. They knew that this
On this new record, we wanted to record in Atlanta and use the same producers as last time, Matt Goldman, Adam Dutkowitz. I think mainly because it was so comfortable last time, and I feel like with this record we really got a lot riding on it, and I felt like they were the people to do it.
Yeah, I mean, when it came time to make the record, we just looked back at our past recording experiences as well as like what we've done up until then as far as writing, and really felt that going back with Matt and Adam was the only option.
More than anything, we really had just a really comfortable working environment for the last record. And it was just really laid back, and it was something that we had never really had before in the studio. Like every time we've ever been in the studio was, you know, really like structured, like have to do this, 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 and then, you know, it makes it kind of uncomfortable. So the last record was just really comfortable, and we were really happy with how it turned out. And not that we wanted to copy what it is that we did on the last record, but we just, you know, felt that since we're so happy with how it turned out last time, we could probably do something that we are equally, or if not more than happy with this time.
And to go with Adam and Matt again just seemed like a no-brainer, as the last record went so well, and we know how all those guys work. So to go with them just seemed like the natural choice.
I think the reason that two producers have been used on the last couple of Under Oath records is basically a producer had been hired for the first record, not the first, the second record, and he, after we were doing demos on that record, and through the course of doing those demos, he was in town and we've kind of discovered that maybe we don't want this dude to do our record. And we had already done demos before. We were friends. We had worked together in the past. They knew Adam D. They really liked. They saw certain strengths that Adam had, saw certain strengths that I had, and they just kind of figured, hey, let's put these two guys together and hopefully have a winning combination. And apparently, hopefully it is one.
Oh man, two producers, two engineers. One has both have funny facial hair. Oh crap. No, it's pretty sweet. It's kind of convenient and a pain in the butt at the same time. There's two different computers running with two different versions of different songs and same songs and all that good stuff, and it gets a little tedious at times, but it's very, the good part about it is having two separate heads, you know, working towards the same goal, you know, two different engineers, producer guys that think about music outside of the way the band thinks about music. So it's kind of nice to have another dude there for sure.
And originally we actually were gonna do the record in Nashville at a really nice studio, and we ended up literally a month and a half, maybe even less than that, up until the record, just decided, like, you know, it's a waste of money. We're gonna be in this really nice studio and not really like know how to feel and not feel like we can touch anything or make ourselves at home. And Matt has this really cool, like really nice but super like homey studio at this industrial plant in Atlanta. It's actually like the oldest still standing studio in Atlanta. It used to be called Songbird.
The new record, you know, was done at my new studio in Atlanta. The original plan was actually to do it at another place, which was technically a better studio than mine, but also way more than twice the price a day. Because part of the reason I do what I do is I have a pretty nice place, but I try to keep it as affordable as possible. I don't charge nearly what most folks would charge for a room like mine, because I got into this whole thing to try to help bands make records without having to spend a ton of money. But it has a huge tracking space, like I had mentioned. We were talking about working out the songs, and then a pretty good sized control room. But there's also a second studio, which it's almost as big as my old studio where we did the drums for Define the Great Line, and that's where Chris and I were working on the programming and keyboards and that sort of thing. And Tim was doing editing, and you know, so it's really great because we had two rooms running, you know, most of the time.
There was an A room, a B room, and a C room. I don't think you ever see the C room. I don't think we ever even shot any footage in there at all. But it was cool because, you know, you got your tracking of the drums in the A room, the big room, you know, with the big floors and the high ceilings. And that's where we tracked a lot of the guitars and all the vocals. But we had this B room that was almost cooler than any other studio we've worked in, you know, prior. And Chris could stay set up in there. Or there was a time where we were thinking we needed another song, and I had been working on something at my house I hadn't shown anybody yet. And I showed it to Tim and showed it to Aaron. They were both like, yeah, this is awesome. And while Aaron is listening and setting up for the next take, goes in and take drums, me and Tim could walk over to the B room and kind of lay down the idea, and we got the skeleton of, you know, everything worked out, meshed out, ready to record. Before the drums were even done, we had another song. You know, and just having that liberty was definitely amazing, because I think if that little room wasn't there, and we would have gone to Nashville, or we would have gone to, you know, back to Zing, possibly one of my favorite songs on the record might not have even happened.
Adam wants to create the perfect record, that every part is played flawlessly like a computer and a machine, and it's just the absolute tightest and greatest performance ever. And I can agree with that about, let's say, 70% of the time. The other 30%, I think people are human and make mistakes and play things certain ways, and Adam was pretty tough when it comes to the performance of us playing, and